Hello, everybody. It's the Historical Gamer once again, but you can call me Matt, and we are here for another episode of the Single Malt Strategy Podcast. This is episode number 93. Yes, number 93. It's been a while since our last episode. Today, I am joined by my co-host, Tortuga Power. How are you doing today, Tortuga?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, it has been a while.
And we also have joining us again. Oh my God, I always get mixed up on what I'm supposed to refer to you as. Finnish Jager?
Yeah. You forgot my name already?
No, I was going to go with charcoal.
Episode's been that far apart.
You know, it has been a while. I don't know why I was thinking charcoal, but that's a thing that I always mix up. Which is, we have been a while since we've had our last episode, but we have been playing some multiplayer gaming together quite a bit lately. For once, I've been included in the party while Tortuga's been too busy. So
Yep.
It makes my heart swell and feel warm and fuzzy inside. I think we're gonna have a little bit more of a freewheeling topic, just kind of touching in with people, seeing what they're playing. I know there's been some big releases. I don't know if anybody's touched EU5 yet. I have not, but we've been playing a fair bit of CK3. At least some of us have. So why don't we just kind of jump into what people have been playing? What about you, Tortuga? What have you been up to lately?
The one thing I've been playing a lot of lately is Brotato. This is I don't know what this genre is exactly. It's the auto shooter survival type thing where you just go into wave after wave. It's got a very heavy emphasis on metagame progression. But yeah, I mean, you play as a potato on a map. It's very similar to Vampire Survivors, if people are familiar with that one. And let me just ask you guys, do you know what best name for this genre? I'm not sure what it is exactly.
Survival bash 'em up. I don't know. I just made that up. It's like I'm just looking at the trailer right now because I know you'd mentioned it in our chats, but I'd never heard of it before that.
I'm very high on this game, by the way. I mean, it's perfect for a very particular need of mine, which is
Violence?
besides violence. If you want to play a game and you only have like 30 minutes of time, to me, it's just not enough time to like pick up a Paradox title to get it going, to really advance it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Even a lot of the like less Paradox, less insane, complicated games. I don't know, even like to play like a Total War type game, I feel like 30 minutes is not really enough to make any real progress. I spend usually like 10 minutes, 15 minutes just kind of looking around, seeing what I was doing. Every time I load into the game, I kind of like recreate the narrative in my head. I start building the story back up. And then boom, before you know it, it's already been 20 minutes. I have like 10 minutes of actual gameplay. Oh my gosh. So anyways, Brotato is, it's a top-down like 2D game where you're just moving around a map and you're shooting things that are next to you. It's really addictive fun because at the end of every wave, based on the number of enemies you've killed, you get some gems and you spend those to acquire weapons or acquire items. And the game is built that you like win if you go 20 waves. And I think that just the number of decisions that you have to make is very engaging. So like every time you get to the end of a wave, you choose on level ups. I mean, there's an XP system and you're leveling up. It's a bunch of stats. You have like range damage or melee damage. You have dodge skill versus armor and health. You can upgrade your health. You can upgrade like your luck stats so that, you have more drops, or, I mean, it impacts other things that you kind of would guess. Or you can upgrade, there's like a harvesting one, which means that you put points into this, and then at the end of every round, you gain in gems the amount that your harvesting is. And also your harvesting, it gets some like investment returns. So I think you get like 5% back on whatever your investment is. So if you invest 100 in harvesting, at the end of the wave, it'll become 105. I really like it. I just think the whole system is just set up incredibly well. It's very well balanced, and you'd have to try it out. But I feel like almost anyone who tries it out is gonna like it. It's really, really fun.
I have one quick question.
Yeah, please.
What are you fighting? Who are you fighting in these waves?
It's just an arbitrary boogeyman. I think I don't even know the lore, but it's some kind of alien.
Oh, okay.
Try to imagine that. I have no idea what the lore of the story is or whatever. It has never even crossed my mind until you asked this question that I would even bother to consider it.
With the game's name called Brotato, I was thinking like you'd be fighting other food groups or something.
It's not the case. It's aliens. I know that it's aliens of some kind, and that there's different. I only know that because there's something called a loot alien, which is a special bad guy that drops loot and because it's a loot.
It says Alien on the Steam page, so
Yeah, it's never mattered less to like the gameplay, the enjoyability of the game. Like there's no narrative in this. There's no attempt at a narrative. It's just pick up, play some waves, have some fun, and it does a great job of that.
can you win, or is it just like see how long you can survive?
Well, yeah. So if you get to wave 20 and you beat, there's 2 bosses at in the wave 20. If you kill them both, then you've won for that run. But I always play in endless mode, which means that, you continue going to wave 21, wave 22, and there's like an exponential growth in the difficulty of the bad guys. It's kind of a way of like getting a real litmus test of how good your build was. Of course, you're still improving as the waves go on. You can still get better, like in wave 21 to 22 and all that. You can still level up, buy new items. But yeah, I mean, to me, like, it's kind of fun when you have like in some games, there might be a hard stop at the final level and you get there and you're like, oh man, this character is so good. I just wish I could see how it would do a little bit longer. And Brotato really offers you that option where you can just keep going. If you have like a really killer character, you can keep playing it. I've said this to you guys. I've said it to almost everyone who I've talked to. I really highly recommend this game. It's a lot of fun. It's very cheap. I think it goes on for sale for like $5. I think I picked it up for free even on Epic at some point. And it's just a really fun game that you can play in like 20 minutes. Just pick up, play Brotato. And by the way, what keeps you coming back is the really nice meta progression. I think there's something like 50 potatoes or brotatoes or whatever that you can choose from. They all have different little stats. I wouldn't say actually different little stats. The playstyles of these can be really, really different. Like one is a soldier, which for some reason, I'm not sure why this is the stats for the soldier, but it can't attack while it's moving. Most of the time you're moving around constantly, just dodging, and your character auto fires at the nearest boss. Nearest bad guy, which you can also change. They have a more advanced option where you can control where you're firing. I just don't want to do that. It's like a mindless game for me, so I don't even want to think about where I'm firing. Just let the game choose that for me. But yeah, so the soldier can't fire while it's moving. They have some that only can use melee weapons, some which can only use ranged weapons, some where instead of buying with gems, you buy with your health. So you have to use your gems to buy health. It's very cool. And then there's like the meta progression. Whole thing is there's different danger levels. I mean, the motivation I think is to try to get every potato locked at danger 5, the highest level, to beat wave 20. And then you get like a special badge for doing that for every potato. So a lot of fun. I highly recommend it.
This is interesting. So like at my day job, we went to a arcade the other day, and it's like just outside Chicago. It's called Galloping Ghost. They have over 1,000 like arcade whatever crates or games or whatever. But there was a game I was playing that I feel like it was very similar to this. Like no aliens. You were like fighting enemy soldiers, but a very similar sort of like running around, running and gunning, kind of getting upgrades as they fall off. Like I guess bullet hell is maybe the way they describe it in the...
Yeah. Good name for it. I think I've seen it described as bullet hell, but this is a little bit more than bullet hell because like you could think of Super Meat Boy is like bullet hell, right?
I guess. No, that's more puzzly, isn't it? Like, because you've got to...
Yeah, maybe. It's just really difficult.
In the game I was thinking about, they actually had like 2 joysticks. One was to control where your gun was firing. The other was to control like where you were moving around.
Yeah, similar. You can do that.
And, like enemies would swarm you and get all over you and you get different weapons. Like it was interesting concept. And it looks neat. Obviously this looks much better than some 30-year-old arcade game. But I'd never heard of it before you mentioned it. It is overwhelmingly positive on Steam. It's 27,000 reviews. It's only $5, if it's not on sale.
Wait, it's only $5 not on sale?
Yeah, the base price is $5.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, if you guys want to try it, I'll buy it for you. That's how excited I am about it.
Does it have co-op? I thought I saw something about co-op.
It does. I've never used it, but there is a possibility of doing co-op. And yeah, I mean, I think it's that good of a game. It's definitely not original, I should say that. Like this concept, I think the genre is really popular right now. As far as I know, was reborn through Vampire Survivors, which was a very popular game. Have you guys heard of that one?
Negative.
Only in name.
Okay.
But I mean, like, to your point, like I think this is a style of game that has been around for a while. Like, it's very arcadey in its nature, so it's not surprising to me that, like, I guess, I didn't even think about it at the time, but like, as I'm looking at this, it's like, yeah, this was definitely like at least one of the games I played the other night. But it does look cool. I haven't played a lot of these kind of games before. It definitely looks like something I could like. I don't know if it's on the Switch, but like something I could like throw on like a handheld.
It is. It's on mobile too.
Cool. That's neat.
Yeah, it's on mobile too. I know that Leth, we've had him on the show before. He plays it on mobile, and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, it works okay on it too." It's a very simple game, so
Looks like the kind of game you would want to just like chill on a couch and play.
exactly. And when you only have limited clips of time, I would love to have like 2 hours of time where I could sit down and play something like CK. When you guys play multiplayer, I'm just like kind of jealously watching and dropping in chat, just hanging out for a little bit. But
When we were playing the other day with Wolf, we weren't even streaming, and he kept talking like to us as if we were chat.
That's just he's just playing a bit,
Streaming brain, maybe it's that.
he doesn't know how to turn it off anymore. I don't have much more to say on Brotato. Maybe that's a good segue into something you guys have been playing lately.
Yeah, what have you been playing, Finn?
Yeah, there's 3 games I think that I've been playing lately. The first 2, I've been playing a game called Subway Builder. Does exactly what the name entails. You're basically just building subways to move people from their houses to their workplaces. The developer has made some other kind of like non-game projects. He's, I guess, kind of into like census data, so it uses kind of somewhat realistic census data.
Where do you get this game? Because it doesn't look like it's on Steam.
It is not on Steam. It's on this guy's website. It might just be called subwaybuilder.com or something like that. I don't know. I think it'll eventually be on Steam. It was, if I remember correct, when it goes on Steam, the price is going to go up for whatever reason. But yeah, I think it uses kind of realistic demographics. Right now, it only has U.S. cities, and maybe has like 20 of them or something. But basically, if anyone's listening and you've played like NIMBY Rails, this is kind of like a more accessible version of that. You're just building subway lines or elevated rail lines. A lot of fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, may I ask, why do you say it's more accessible than NIMBY Rails? I've played NIMBY Rails, and this is also, there's another game similar to this too, besides NIMBY Rails. There's the Road Builder one. You know what I'm talking about?
The Road Builder. No, I don't.
It's the one where you're trying to get your like red cars over to the red spot, and you're...
Oh yeah, that's like micro highway or mini highway.
Yeah, something like that.
That's just like a puzzle game.
Okay, you're right. That's more puzzle-ish.
This is a little bit more realistic in terms of people and economics. Setting your ticket prices and things like that, taking out loans.
Claims, and I don't know enough about it, but it claims that you have to build your system under realistic constraints and costs. Tunnels, viaducts, cut and cover all of trade-offs, negotiate with real-world building foundations, geography, and road layout. So that is interesting.
Yep, that's all a good summary of it. What I think what's different than NIMBY Rails, I'm trying to remember, it's because it's been so long since I played NIMBY Rails, but I feel like it was more accessible with like setting up your trains and your routes. Buying trains, things like that. I don't know. It's just a simpler version.
Okay, that's good. It's interesting.
When I think about NIMBY Rails, I did like I think it has like a really extremely realistic like demographic model with people, and you can play that anywhere all over the world. However, they've set that up to be realistic. But Subway Builder is just set in the United States cities right now. I think
they have an international expansion planned for the winter of 2025. The Steam release in spring of 26.
Well, it's a single dev game, so we'll see what happens.
I like this. That's good. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I mean, you've talked about it. I think I've seen your screenshots of it, but for some reason, when you're like really, I don't know, in this moment when I'm looking at it, more, I guess I'm putting more focus on it. I like what I see.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've only played like the maps. I played the Dallas map. It's like when you play the map, it's a big area. It's not like you're confined to like somewhere in someone's downtown. So I've done a bunch of routes in the Dallas area, and then I was most recently playing in the San Francisco Bay Area. So
do they have Houston?
They do have Houston. Yeah. I looked at it.
You gotta hate play a game and just be like mess it all up as much as you can.
It was pretty easy because when you see the cities and you see the demographic data with density, you can easily see how some cities are going to have more successful public transit. Because I was thinking when I was playing my San Francisco game, I could move so many more people for like a quarter of the price that it was taking me to move people in the Dallas area. Like I was spending, several $billion to move like 60,000 people a day in Dallas. But I had spent like a half of that price to move almost 200,000 people in the San Francisco area. So that just shows like density.
Oh, is it mostly population? Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you go into like why that difference?
Yeah, it's basically all population density. You know, the downtown San Francisco area has a lot of people, and some of the other areas in that Bay Area have a lot of people. But when you think about Dallas, it's just everything is so spread out. And that's one of the issues. That's a real life issue that our local transit is facing. There's just not a lot of density to make, moving a large number of people like the most economical.
Do you do like above ground or below ground? Is it all below ground?
You can do both, yeah. There's different costs for building cut and cover versus deep tunnels. There's also at grade, so ground level, and then there's elevated. So each of those elevation ranges have different costs.
I'm wondering, like, do certain cities have different water table levels that you have to consider, and does that factor into cost?
I think only a little bit. The guy recently added some water depth in certain cities, maybe all of them. Maybe it's kind of like a base, like 12 feet or something. So it's not the most detailed, but you do have to get under like a minimum if you want to build under some water features.
I could be wrong, but I think that's one of the reasons why the L in Chicago is largely above ground. It has to do with water levels and things. Because I mean, right next to the lake too.
Well, that's,
cool. This is neat.
That's Subway Builder. The other game I've been playing is called House of Legacy, and this is a game set in ancient China. It doesn't really specify the year, but it's kind of, there's no gunpowder weapons in this game, so I guess pre-gunpowder ancient China. This is a game with one dev and two artists, and basically it's similar to CK3 in a sense where you have a clan. Clan members get married, they have kids, they have traits, you have assigned them jobs, you own a farm, you can build up your clan estate. If you have people getting certain government positions, you can do some city building. There's an emperor, royal family, and there's kind of diplomacy, there's other clans to interact with. And there's a little bit of economic stuff there, a little bit of supply and demand stuff there. It's a game that is typical, still in early access kind of situation. I would say this game has all the features I love. Like, I love everything, but they're just not in depth enough yet for me to be like, this is a 10 out of 10 game. I'm really excited where it's going, but and I sink a lot of time into it because it always feels like you're waiting for the next thing. You're like, I'm going to work towards like getting this kid into like a university, or has to pass an exam, or like what else? Like there's some little bit of wars going on. Wars are slightly abstracted. You can send family members to war. If they get promoted in the battles in the war, they can get a little bit more money. They might get royal court positions, things like that. So I guess I don't know how else to describe it, but I streamed this one a little bit, so I don't know if either of you have. You might have watched a little bit of this game. I think the dev is doing one update a month, and so there was a kind of a larger one. So I was playing today because I wanted to get to some of these new features, but I have not yet. But they added like burial grounds, feature that had already existed, but I have not seen yet. It was fiefs, so you can create fiefs in like military buildings to create your own private army. You can like overthrow the emperor with your army, stuff like that. Have alliances with other imperial family members, princes. So it's a game, it's a game with a ton of potential. I like where it's at, and I'm excited to see where it goes. It just needs to be a little bit more in depth in quite a few areas, but what it's got now still hooks me.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the differences between this and CK3?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, again, I think that when I look at this, I have to say I have seen this before because you've mentioned it, and this is just personal taste, but I have to say the art style somehow does not do it for me, especially, I guess, the city art.
I love the art style.
Yeah, that's good to mention.
The art style, I like it. It's kind of that isometric view, kind of angled view. Building at your estate in the cities is all on grid systems, so there's no curves. The differences between this and CK3, House of Legacy is really going to be focused on, I would say, city and like county level things. So you're assigning family members to do some jobs. You're interacting with other clans, but a lot of like the map painting that you might experience in CK3 does not exist. It feels like you're kind of managing the family a little bit more. In House of Legacy, you're not really a ruler, And you could not be a ruler in CK3, but it's not like a military paint the map kind of game. You're focusing on city level, city kind of management, a little bit of economics. I feel like CK3 is like much bigger.
It's if they made CK3 but only allowed you to play on the manor that they introduced in All Under Heaven, right?
Yeah, it would kind of be like that. Yeah, if you had that and you have just a handful of cities, and obviously it's got the city building mechanic. So if you have family members in positions in the city, it opens up redeveloping your city, placing down different buildings, placing roads. You can move stuff around. There's that customization of the cities and your estate that CK3 obviously does not have.
Yeah, I've watched you stream. I don't think I watched anything with the Subway game, but I watched you stream the
House of Legacy.
House of Legacy, that's right. And it looked neat. I like the art style too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, really good game. It's really it has a ton of really good reviews on Steam. English reviews overwhelmingly positive. So I think just check it out.
Everybody's picking critically acclaimed games, it would seem.
That's right. So this is my game of the year. Lock it in.
Is it?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we'll talk more about that on the next episode. In the meantime, I have been playing Master of Command. Played it a little bit before it came out, released end of October by Armchair History Interactive, which is sort of a gaming division. I don't know, I think it's just a few people, but the Armchair Historian is a sort of history YouTube channel type deal and has made 2 games now. I don't know if he's doing any of the coding or anything like that, but their first game was Fire and Maneuver. Their second game is Master of Command. And Fire and Maneuver kind of was a weird experience. Like, I think they released it for a time free to play, then they tried to put it behind now it costs money, and they did DLC, and it was turn-based 19th century warfare. Kind of had a mixed reception. Master of Command seems to be like, all right, they learned a lot about releasing and selling a game, and, doesn't seem like they have had any of the initial hiccups they had the first time around. This is a pausable real-time tactical war game, but also like a roguelike a little bit. Maybe not a roguelike.
Kind of like RPG?
Not really an RPG.
Well, you mean you're building up like items for your different people, and you go to different places on a map. It's kind of like Battle Brothers style, right? Where you're moving around the top map.
Yeah, and it's like a procedurally generated map. So like the setting is notionally Frederick the Great's campaigns, which frankly I know very little about. 18th century warfare in Europe, pre-Napoleon. Big long lines of soldiers with muskets, lots of melee combat, which we don't get a lot of that era of games. So I think that's really neat. Like in sort of the way the main part of the game works, it's set in 3 chapters. Each chapter takes place in a different region. And so you like pick the region, which is notionally part of, a historical map, but the map itself is largely procedurally generated. The town names might be real. Your army moves around the map. You need to try and build your army up from kind of a small force to something much larger. You have a certain number of days, and at the end of those days, a boss battle occurs effectively where the main enemy army, which is much larger than you start off with, is going to come and march at you, and you have to fight them. And as you move around this map, you run into different enemy armies. There's like patrol armies between cities. There's like, fortified armies that are stronger, and you can get like perks if you beat them. In cities, you can, buy new equipment. You can sell equipment that you've plundered on the battlefield. You can raise new regiments. You get money which you can use to like expand the number of brigades in your army and buy new units and equipment. You have provisions that you have to manage to feed your soldiers. And then you've got recruits, which you use to replace your losses in battle. And then, if you beat the boss battle, then you fight a second chapter in the campaign, which is a larger enemy army, more challenging. Then the third chapter is sort of the same. So it's an interesting sort of army management aspect to the game. I do think battles are a little bit samey, if you will. I also feel like while the battlefields might be reasonably large, because they're always meeting engagements, it's kind of like if you've got good terrain in the back of the map, turtle, because the enemy's going to come at you, just get your boys up on the ridge and wait for the enemy to come, or get them in the woods and wait for the enemy to come. And if you don't have good terrain, then like try to find a fence line somewhere to like hold up, but you're never going to push too far into the map. It just feels like a lot of the map goes to waste because units are relatively slow to move around. You don't want to waste too much energy. The AI is always going to come at you. They do try and flank you, and the AI can be pretty clever in terms of like using cavalry to kind of bait you, wear you down, and then charge with infantry. Like I think the AI is reasonably competent. But I do feel like just the design of the battles just ends up being a lot of the same kinds of fights. Enemy army composition is usually pretty similar. I wish there was a little bit more variety in the battles. I wish everything wasn't a meeting engagement so that you could actually feel like, oh, well, I've got to assault this ridge and the enemy's just going to sit up on it if I don't come at them, or vice versa. But overall, I've had a good time with it. It's had pretty good reviews on Steam. It's 1,700 reviews at very positive, which is 91% positive, which is certainly good, I would say. The previous game that they did only had 240 reviews at 70%, so seems to be much better received than their previous game. I like a lot of what they did. I don't know how much in terms of legs a game like this has, because I just feel like the battles are going to get very samey over time. Even though there's like 5 different nations you can play as, and like there's different pluses and minuses, you know, the British have different benefits versus the Russians versus the Prussians and the French and the Austrians. But I still think things get a little bit samey. One thing I will say just randomly, I love artillery in this game specifically because it shows you the ball as it bounces. Like this is an era of solid shot primarily for artillery. And when an artillery fires, you see like the ball fly out and then you see it like bounce and bounce and bounce. And it leaves these like little furrows in the ground graphically every time the ball strikes somewhere. I just love that aspect. Like it looks cool.
I have also played this, yeah. And I was a little surprised when you said that this is at 91% on Steam. To me, this is, okay, so it's a small team, and take that, I don't think the price is that much either. Is it like 15 or 20? Oh, it's 30. Okay, I see. Okay, so 30, that's, well, okay, maybe. But what I was going to say about it is I think the game is set up in a way to minimize the weaknesses of the dev team, which is that it's not, I think that they tried to mask the fact that it's very difficult to write an AI for a strategic layer. So they put this, it's interesting in its own way. It's like a gimmick, right? They have this go around the strategic map to like build up your army. And it's, I think it's neat. It's clever. The reason why we're not seeing something which is like more realistic or more, the game marries a very good tactical battle system, which is, I would say it's pretty much at Empire Total War level. I would say that with the one exception that the maps, I actually think I agree that there's not enough area on the maps or enough time, or maybe they're trying to like show you how cumbersome these lines are to move, and you don't start far enough away from your opponent. It's like you can't really do any maneuvering before the battle begins. You basically pre-place your, I mean, this is my experience. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I wouldn't say, I haven't played this game a lot, so it's very possible that I'm missing some nuance here, but I didn't have, I never found that there was a lot of time to do a lot of maneuvering, or the engagements, you got into engagements pretty quickly, and then at that point it was in the middle of it. I don't know, there's not a whole lot of time for maneuvering.
I have about 20 hours in, and I would, in terms of that comment, I would say you can maneuver, but my experience is it's very tactical maneuvers, like very limited, like, all right, I'm gonna move this unit over here because the enemy's open their flank, or you know, I'm going to wheel my entire line around to the right because the enemy isn't big enough to match my lines. But I do agree that, like, if you're playing smart, you're not doing a lot of maneuver because you'll wear your troops out, and that plays a big role on how well they fight. Can move a little bit. I wouldn't say I pre-place everything, but it's like, oh, there's a very nearby ridge line I'm going to move up on. I'm not moving, you know, halfway or even a quarter of the way across the map to get to it, though. I'm moving very close to where my deployment box is, and that's about it.
And then, so you have this, but I would agree with you that the tactical battle is pretty realistic. I think the mechanics there are pretty solid. What I think is weird, though, is that you have this, the game, I feel like the vibe it's trying to give is, hey, we're trying to give you something that's like realistic. And the way I can imagine playing this game, I'm happy to have it from the perspective that if I go and or read something on a conflict from this time period, or if I watch a show about it, I may be excited to go and boot this game up and then play around like I have that army under my own control. That's what video games are usually really good at doing, is like allowing you to live a little bit of that moment in history. So the tactical battle will definitely accomplish that. It does. So I would say the strategic map, not at all realistic. It's almost like, this is a really absurd level, but I can't think of a better analogy in the moment. It's almost like you play Frogger on a strategic map, something like to do with reality. And then when you get into a battle at the strategic level, you go into this like pretty good, realistic tactical engine. It's a very weird gimmick. I mean, nothing about the strategic map is like real. You would not do.
Well, I don't know that it's real. I mean, it's a procedurally generated. Sorry.
Well, let me finish. I don't think you would go into a town as a conquering army and recruit their troops there, which is one of the things you're doing in this game, right? It's just, and you're like pulling ammunition from them. I don't think that's how it works at all. I don't think just random towns don't store army ammunition for you, right? But it's just part of the gimmick. But it's anyway, it may work as a gimmick for some people. I may need to be in the right mindset to play that and enjoy that. But something struck me as a little bit off about that.
You know, it's interesting. There are different ways to approach the same. At its core, I think what this game wants to be. It certainly doesn't want to be a historical recreation of Frederick the Great's campaigns, because it doesn't try to be that. You wouldn't be generating maps procedurally if you wanted to be a historical recreation of Frederick the Great. I think at the core, the game wants a Frederick sort of era theme, but it wants you to be an army manager. It wants you to build your own army and get to fight with it, which is not that dissimilar to Ultimate General American Civil War. They have very different approaches to how they want to actually handle the between battle phase, though, right? Like Ultimate General Civil War is like, all right, well, we're not going to have you move around a map because we can't do that. They showed that with Ultimate General American Revolution, that they weren't very good at that. But so they were like, all right, we're going to give you like these fake made up skirmishes to try and give you something to do between the historical battles. And now, like, because you're creating your own units, the historical battles are kind of historical in flavor only. But really, ultimately, it's all in service of building up your own army. Whereas this game, like, has this weird... it's like a maze. Like, the strategic maps are a maze where you have to, like, dodge and bob and weave and avoid enemy armies that you don't want to fight. Or just fight the armies if you do want to fight them.
You know, like Frogger.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've played Frogger, but... Yeah, so it's a weird. Again, I think, you know, and I will say, like, Ultimate General American Revolution's campaign maybe did a better job of this, but the tactical battles fell into similar sameness, which I think is maybe just a challenge with designing games for this era. The strategic map I don't love. I suppose you could have done linked battles the way that Ultimate General Civil War did. I know a lot of people didn't like that either.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's a strange marriage from the perspective that they have something pretty realistic at the tactical level, and then a little bit, maybe, I don't want to say goofy, but something like goofy. But it's still, the goofy thing is clever and interesting. It's just that you have to, if you want to build a narrative in your own head, you're playing this game, I'm playing this game, let's say, and I want to pretend to be this thing I saw on TV, or this motivation that I want to play this game, whatever motivates me. I have to really go into like an alternate world to pretend that anything like this could exist, where I would be walking around to towns and collecting things. But from a gameplay perspective, I think it's fun. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's a little bit weird the way the marriage works, but it's still fun, or it could be, if you're in the right mind for that.
I could make a narrative where, like, I'm in a town, we're setting up camp, and now wagons from elsewhere are arriving with reinforcements because we stopped marching. Like, I could find ways to make it logical if you're trying to, but I'm not sure the game cares that much. I think it's just like, all right, now, like, this is a natural pausing point for you to reinforce. Don't think too much about it. Like, I think that's the way they're approaching it.
Did you play Battle Brothers, THG?
I did not.
Okay. I mean, the strategic map for this is a lot like Battle Brothers, where you're in that game, you are actually motivated to go to towns to, like, buy and sell items. You can, like, run your own merchant type stuff, or you can pick up contracts there. Here, the motivation's a little bit different for going to towns and, like, avoiding enemies and all that. But otherwise, the for anybody listening, if you're familiar with Battle Brothers, you can definitely get a good impression of what the strategic gameplay of this game is like if you think of Battle Brothers. It's very similar.
Cool. I did not know you had played this, so it's interesting to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I played it, and this is like a whole different podcast topic, but I feel like lately I've actually really enjoyed taking a break from strategy games, but because strategy games is like my my content creator persona. Nothing else will really fit on my channel, so I always feel compelled to go back to them. I probably would have enjoyed Master of Command more if I played it naturally rather than like kind of forcing myself to play it to see if it's good, if it's worth covering. So that's why I'm trying to also like a little bit caveat the slightly less than positive. I mean, this game is good. I like it. I think that if you enjoy like this time frame, it's like not covered by anybody, so it's almost like an auto pickup for you. And I've seen other people's comments, people who are like more grognardy, who actually play like tabletop 19th century stuff, and they like this game too because of the tactical combat is reasonably good. Like somebody explained it as, hey, look, you can actually take your British forces in, and they are more disciplined, and then you can send your Scottish forces in to bop them on the head when your super disciplined rifle lines are done, like obliterating them. But you got to be worried about like being charged by their cavalry. And the point is that there's people who are more interested in this time period than I am, who study it, who are satisfied by it. So that's a real good praise of the game. Just from my perspective, I don't know if I got into the right. I need to go watch some like Prussian movie, and then I'll be inspired to go play this, and then I'll probably have a more positive opinion.
All right, cool. Well, the only other game I've been playing a lot of, I've been playing a little bit of Battleplan, sort of a sneak peek of that game, which is sort of like the Hearts of Iron frontline game. Best way of putting it. Like if you look at the Hearts of Iron frontline mechanic, imagine you made a game.
Let's correct that. Let's be very specific. The Hearts of Iron 4 battle plan.
Sorry.
The worst of the combat systems.
Hey, to be fair, I think frontline is actually, your battle plan is actually kind of interesting.
That's good.
But it's a very different, like it's, all right, imagine you're commanding just a corps of troops. Let's zoom in on that frontline mechanic much more. Superficially it resembles Hearts of Iron's 4's frontline mechanic. When you zoom in, it's a lot. It's quite a bit more than that. But maybe we'll talk about that another time. Just because I'd like to put a little bit more time in that, and that game isn't out yet, so we've got some time before that.
Yeah, I'd actually like to look at that one too. So let me look at it before we talk about it too.
Yeah, cool. Maybe we'll do an episode on it.
It looks interesting. So
Das was streaming a ton of it. He might be interesting to chat with about it. I know he had some sponsorship stuff going with him. Only other game I've been playing really is CK3. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about before we get to CK3?
Yeah, let me maybe rattle off a few other things. There was a 4X game, Stellar Reach, which came out. I played it. I saw other people playing it. I think that, is that
the one that was dropped by, or am I thinking of something else that was dropped by Hooded Horse?
No, you're thinking about
Stellar Dynasty, maybe?
It's Alliance of the Sacred Sons, right?
Maybe. I don't remember the name. I was looking for you to know, so.
Okay, so Hooded Horse dropped Alliance of the Sacred Sons, but there was a different game. This Stellar Reach one came out, and this was a person who had worked on AAA titles, or I don't remember exactly. I should have looked it up before I started talking the backstory of the dev, but I think it's one dev, or like one main dev, or maybe it's a couple dev or several dev project, but it's very good. I like it a lot. It's basically a different take on Stellaris. I am not well equipped in this moment to talk about the differences between it and Stellaris. One is I think so I would say it's a pretty good game, and I'm just going to throw it out there that I played a little bit of it because I think it deserves, for people who are itching for a new 4X game, somewhat similar to Stellaris, you may consider checking out Stellar Reach. The reception was pretty good, and dev's really nice. I always like when you're dealing with nice people instead of like, otherwise, if we don't have anything else about Stellar Reach, I'll move to the next one.
All right.
Well, I'll just throw two into the same category here. I've been playing a little bit of like these survival type games where like crafting, similar to how Finnish and I once upon a time played Icarus. There's a couple more. I played Grounded, which is where you're shrunk down to the size of insects and you're in the backyard and you're building up. Yeah, it's the same thing as all these other ones, but the game is good, and the environment, like where you're fighting ants. They're as big as you are, or bigger slightly, and spiders are way bigger than you, and you have to kill them. And You're building your base out of like leaves and stuff. It's pretty cool. And the last one I'll mention is Cozy Keep. And this really shows how far away from the strategy gaming community I've gone. It's Cozy Keep is really like practically an idle shop, runner type game. There's a little bit of combat. You can go fight skeletons in order to mine more gold or more iron ore to build more, but you're basically a shopkeeper. You harvest from local like trees or rocks or whatever. You pick them up. You build items out of that. You open your store, you pay taxes on the things to the king. You have like 5 days to make some kind of pay. It's very like Rossettiar-esque. People know Rossettiar, but probably like any of these shopkeeper, like in shopkeeper. It's like any of those games. I really like this one. It doesn't have much life in it. I'd say that after like 4 hours, it's already really run its course and you start to get sick of it, but it was a nice 4 hours.
A $15 game. $15 for 4 hours of fun?
Yeah, I don't think I bought it for that, but...
Okay, my bad.
The other thing you have to take into consideration is I'm also buying games these days that I can play with my children. Like Grounded is one that they like seeing. They love seeing the ants and the spiders and all that, and they're always like, "No, run away, Dad! Don't fight him!" And then I fight the spider and I win. And everyone's really excited. So, when you play a game like that, it doesn't. you can play goofy games if you got a bunch of kids cheering you on.
Yeah.
You really need to teach your kids to enjoy the thrill of designing a dreadnought and rule the waves. Just like, this thing looks so cool. You could just spend all your time making it,
Well, it looks cool. I mean, that's something you can't say about anything in Rule the Waves. It may be Ultimate Admiral Dreadnought. But
okay, we'll get into that. It's
like slowly, we got to work their way.
Then the game after all of those years will hook you in after the company no longer exists.
That's right. We got to build a better version. That's what I think. Okay, but thanks for letting me, the forum, my little soapbox about those different games. I'm actually the one game I want to go back and play now because of Master of Command is Total War Empire. That has co-op, so if either of you guys want to play, get some co-op going.
Yeah, maybe. I never really played a lot of Empire. Played Total War, Napoleon. Didn't play a lot of Empire. That was a weird one where like it came out and everybody hated it, but now I think it's like, at least within a certain community, and maybe if it's heavily modded, it seems pretty solid.
I don't think it even needs to be modded. There are a couple mods that are popular. I mean, I just looked this up recently since like I said, Master of Command inspired me to download, and I haven't played it yet, but I'm going to play Total War Empire. And yeah, I think you can play it vanilla. There's like an overhaul mod, but some people say it's not that good. And it's definitely an interesting one because you had like the different map zones because of trade, that they focus on like trade. So you're supposed to like keep Southern Pass of Africa open. It's like its own little spot where you could just make sure there's no pirates there. You have to go through the Suez Canal. Wait, Suez Canal, when was that? 1800? Is it around then?
Yeah, no, they would not have the Suez Canal then. It was after the Napoleonic Wars.
1870?
I thought it was the 40s, but either way, it's after this.
It's after, okay. So
I'm going to make me look it up.
That's right, because that's why everyone wanted to go around Africa.
Opening 1869.
Well, anyway, that's a game, and it's kind of similar to CK3. There's your segue. Go.
Oh boy, a lot of pressure. So, CK3 added, was it All Under Heaven, which adds all of basically East Asia. It goes down to like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, but then you have China, Korea, Japan, a little bit in the Russian Far East. But I guess the interesting thing is going to be playing, as China, Korea, or Japan. And I think each different start date offers something different for those areas. For China, you have the way their government is set up. It's like a celestial government, which is like higher than an empire. And it's just, I guess, a game mechanic way of having a celestial emperor of some kind. China and Korea are meritocracies, so you have various like exams and like test scores that give you results, and then those people can be eligible for certain positions based on their test scores. We haven't played enough in one of the starts to see what the Mongols are like in China. I really want to see how that plays out. A Mongols invasion of China. And I also want to play the latest start in Japan because there's going to be a lot more fighting in Japan. THG Wolf and we had played in Japan, but it was like one of the earliest starts. And it was kind of a good like tutorial to kind of understand some of the basics, but there's not a whole lot of fighting going on if that's really your thing. Kind of just like a lot of like understanding the economic side of stuff. And then we were playing in China. We didn't get too far. And then in some of my custom games I was playing as Korea, doing some expansion. I guess I don't know what else to say. I think it's probably like the best DLC Paradox has released in any game in a while. I feel like I really like CK3. It's probably my favorite Paradox game. I guess it's really the only Paradox game I play at this point. But I think that the game has a lot of like busy work, a lot of like pop-ups. We talk about how the focus is kind of role-playing. You're playing as this character. And sometimes I don't feel like you have time to like role-play. There's always some pop-up. There's always some event. You're always kind of grinding to get some sort of prestige points, the in-game mana to do something. And that's just like a standard Paradox game limitation to slow the player down. And I think they fill that time with the busy work of the pop-ups. Go to a feast, do a pilgrimage, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and for me at this point, I played a lot of CK3, and I'll pull up to see how much. But so much of the pop-ups are just the same. They're repetitive. I know what kind of outcomes are going to be. I don't read the text anymore. I just go for the answer that I know is what I want, and you're just zooming through it. I played 243 hours of CK3, which is actually a lot more than I thought. But
I'm at 92, and about 25 of those have come since the new DLC came out. I had not touched it in years, I don't think, before the new DLC. Do you have any of the other DLCs?
This is the only DLC I own. Yeah, is All Under Heaven.
Okay. Because they have, I wonder, especially like Scandinavia, I wonder if like the landless, because there's a DLC where you can have like I think that, right? Like you can have a landless character. But I'm curious, like for the All Under Heaven DLC, what do you think about the exams? I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, what do you think about the exam structure? Like, is it interesting? Makes the game feel deeper and makes your like role play feel deeper? And then two, when you get assigned to like different council positions for the Emperor, like do they matter? Do they do anything? Like, I feel like I've been assigned to them and it doesn't change my game at all.
Okay, so to answer the second question first, usually when you get council positions you get various kind of bonuses. It's like a 3% to this thing, or, plus 2 to your diplomacy. It's kind of that very minor stuff. And overall, it doesn't matter. It doesn't feel like...
But it doesn't actually, like, I'm not doing anything different. It's not like now you're a king instead of a duke and you control more territory, or you have more mercenary armies at your disposal, or like it doesn't actually change your gameplay at all.
Yeah.
Okay. That's disappointing.
Yeah, I don't feel like it does. It doesn't give you events where you're interacting with your leader. It's like I'm on this council and I do nothing with it. I feel like if you have that, I want to be able to interact with your king, your liege, whoever, and interact with that job responsibility. And maybe that would help make the game feel like a little bit more of the role play, because, now I'm the marshal, or now I'm the steward, and there's some sort of, influence I have, pop-ups, I guess, to make decisions about the realm. And maybe it's even like you can have things that are a little bit more intrigue. I'm siphoning money from the royal treasury, or I'm stealing soldiers, or something like that. Who knows? But I think it's there, but it does not affect the game at all. And going to the exam question, I don't know if I'm qualified enough to answer this question, but on the surface, I feel like it's maybe not as impressive as I thought it was going to be. People take exams, and when I'm looking for positions to fill, it's not like I have a list of people in my local area that I can pick from because they've scored on the exam. It's still like I'm filling a position. It just gives me the standard list of people. And there's like the new mana is like this merit points, but I'm not sure what it really does yet.
Okay. I didn't realize apparently the family estates were from the Byzantine DLC, which is interesting. Roads to Power. There's just more buildings to build. I will say I had also, since the DLC came out, I've been playing as Georgia because I was curious, because I have the Roads to Power DLC, which is a Byzantine DLC. I decided I'm going to buy all this shit. And so I did that, and I was playing as Georgia because I was like, all right, I wonder if they fixed the blobbing nature of Byzantium. I don't know that they really did. At least for the early starts, it still feels like Byzantium is like massively expanding and doesn't seem to have any real issue with internal strife.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm just getting they're getting good lucky dice rolls effectively.
I've seen the Byzantines kind of been swallowed up by like the Abbasids or someone like that. In one of my games that I'm playing, I guess the one that I'm playing is Korea. There's like a very large state like in the Caucasus that is pushing south. And I know I've had a game where I've seen the Mongols. The Mongols, it was the biggest Mongol empire like ever. The Mongols were in Jerusalem, and they were in like all over the Middle East. It was crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in it since the DLC release. I do have some reservations. I think it's awesome that in the context of a DLC, they're like, all right, we're gonna go from what was their cutoff before, India? We're just gonna, China, Vietnam, Japan, like everything in almost the entire world, with the exception of I guess the Americas, is in CK now, and I guess sub-Saharan Africa. Or no, they have that, don't they?
I think it's a little bit more. It goes down to, I guess, I don't know. It goes down to equator-like area, the equator, I think.
I mean, they've got everything except for half of Africa and the Americas in this game now. It's nuts. And it does feel like the newest DLC does make playing. I mean, I've really only played a little bit of China when we played together, and then Japan. But like, they do feel like very different games than when you play as, an Orthodox country, which is what I primarily have played as in the past. The population and the resources and wealth of the East in this game put almost like, all right, I see why some of these empires were massive, and like, I'm in an impoverished, 4-county kingdom in the Caucasus, and I can't do jack shit. And like, I'm a 3-county or 2-county Japanese principality, and I've got like triple the money.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is seeing like how much more developed China is. Both like you have like the territory development, like map mode, you can see like development level, but like also with buildings and things like this. The game added like projects, like great projects to some extent. I've seen the Chinese like do expand the Great Wall projects, and you have to donate your money. And they have also added they've added some natural disasters. We've seen earthquakes. I've seen floods, like a Yellow River flood, a Yangtze River flood. Plagues they've always been there, but earthquakes. I've seen some earthquakes in Japan. Those kind of little events are kind of unique.
My high-level impression is CK is in a good place as far as a Paradox game is concerned. I think it has a lot of interesting stuff to do. There's a fair bit of busy work. It's not perfect. But generally speaking, for what this is, I think CK is it's in a really good spot for Paradox. I would,
Yep.
I guess the only thing I'm a little bit turned off on is I do feel like, other than the fact that like this was a huge DLC and they deserve props for like doing something so big, up to this point, it had felt like they had been really slow on their DLC and really slow on building out some of the functionality and features that you would have kind of expected. I mean, the game is 5 years old, and I think by this point CK2 had done a lot more to like flesh the game out. It felt like CK3's been a little bit slow, at least through the first couple of years of its existence, to kind of build things out to the point I would expect for a Paradox game. But maybe they're hitting their stride now, because I mean, I don't know that they've ever had a DLC with as big of a addition as All Under Heaven has had for a Paradox game, broadly speaking.
Yeah, I think, well, I've looked through their DLC list before, and there's a lot of ones that seem not very highly rated by the community. And I think that's the standard Paradox problem. You're charging, $20 or something, or $15 for things that don't do a whole lot. And I think this one was a ton of new content. From what I've played so far, I think it's really worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like blowing people off the charts in terms of reception. I think it's 71% positive, but some of their DLC in the past has been nothing like that. It looks like Roads to Power, which is the Byzantine one, is 84% and was pretty well received. I think CK generally has done better from a audience reception than some of the other Paradox games of late. I haven't seen how EU5 has been received yet. But is it weird that they released such a big DLC for CK3 a few days before EU5 release? That felt like an odd business strategy.
Yeah, now that you mention that, I feel like I agree. And maybe Tortuga has thoughts on this.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And I don't know. I think we're all just thinking the same thing. It's a little bit bizarre. I don't know why they did that, but it had been, as She said, a long time since the previous one. So I don't know if you really want to wait any longer. And people are definitely waiting on EU5. So probably maybe there's the notion in their head that people are going to pick up both anyway.
I guess what I would think is it's what you would do if you thought the DLC was going to bomb, which I don't think it has. But like if you thought the DLC wasn't going to be successful, then you'd bury it underneath EU5. But if you thought it was going to be successful, you'd almost want to space it out. So I don't know. Whatever. Maybe the player bases are more different than we realize, and there's not as much overlap.
We also don't see under the hood. We don't know if there was a reason why they didn't release it earlier, if it wasn't ready, if they found problems and it was delayed. I mean, the alternative would be like, if EU5 was ready, and basically, obviously, time to market is. It's important to get the product onto the market as soon as possible if you're interested in making money. So if they did some quality control on the DLC and they didn't want to push back EU5 for I think pretty reasonable reasons, just ended up this way. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that somebody else has asked this question on Reddit or something, and there's an answer out there that might explain it. But because it is, all three of us noticed that it's impossible that nobody else did.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played EU5. But I have been watching a fair amount of it. It's another thing that's pretty easy to do is there are these complicated games which may take like 30 minutes to get into. When you pause a video, that person continues playing right where they left off when you hit play. So it's pretty easy sometimes to just watch somebody play these complicated games since they have the continuous stream of thought for all like 4 hours that they recorded. Even if you were jumping in and out. Anyway, I've watched some EU5 and I'm very surprisingly impressed in a positive way. For me, I think maybe it shouldn't be surprising because EU4 I really liked. At every point in EU4 that I played it, I liked it. The thing which I didn't like about EU4, and I hope Paradox listens to this feedback, I doubt it, but I hope they do, is when you have so much DLC which is changing the game, at some point there's like relearn fatigue. It's just not worth it to go back and try to like figure out how to play the game anymore. At some point I was just done. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just wait for EU5 or maybe I'll just never play EU again because I don't want to learn it again. I've learned it 4 times. I'm not going to try to learn it again. And I feel that's frustrating.
I feel like with CK2 around that time period, Paradox got a lot of leeway from the audience. They were kind of their first game, CK2, EU4. Hearts of Iron came a little bit later, but those games seem to get a lot of goodwill from folks around their DLC-ification of their approach. They had always had expansions, but like those are the first games that it really felt like they went hog wild, flight sim level, a million different models for the same game. And it seemed like at least through the first 3/4 of their lives, the audience was largely like, more content, yay! But there definitely became sort of this DLC fatigue by the end. And I think that's bled over into a lot of their more recent stuff. Maybe that's why CK5 or CK3 hasn't had as much DLC, it seems like, is maybe they realized like we need to do fewer, bigger DLCs rather than like this constant drip that just exhausts everybody. EU5 seems to be pretty well received on Steam reviews so far. I did like one commenter that said, this game is like cookie dough. Definitely good, but still needs time in the oven. But yeah, it seems to mostly be pretty well reviewed. I thought you would like it, and I know you haven't played it yet, but like I thought you would like it, Tortuga, because of everything I heard from the previews was like, holy crap, this game is dense. I can't believe they made a game this complex and this deep at the get-go. Like it seemed almost like they made a Paradox game for Paradox gamers, like from of old. But I haven't played it yet either. It just seems to be
that's the impression I've gotten from viewing it as well. Is it'll be interesting to see how, like, because Paradox is a publicly traded company now, they are beholden to their stockholders, right? So there is some onus on them to be doing things which make money for the company. So if this works, I think it will, because there's a lot of people who enjoy the old EU4 games. I mean, look at how successful their DLC policy is. It might be like the one exception even that they can still do really complicated things in. From what I've seen from Hearts of Iron, I guess that went the other way. I don't necessarily think their decisions in Hearts of Iron 4, it feels like a lot of their decisions in Hearts of Iron 4 was like, okay, here's Hearts of Iron 4 vanilla at the start. Now let's just try to find we'll find ways to make it better by essentially going back to all the things we did in Hearts of Iron 3. I find that it's kind of bizarre, but and that might actually work as a way to like suck people in when the game is not as complicated. And then as you move towards Hearts of Iron 3, it becomes more, I don't know, I'm spitballing here.
I just kind of viewed EU as a reaction to the criticisms of everything is too simplified now. That seems more to me, right? Hearts of Iron, yes, it was simplified and it was trying to appeal to a broader audience, but it came first. And the reaction to that of it, oh, it's too simplified, and the reaction to Victoria 3 maybe of, oh, it's too simplified. Like, okay, guys, we'll give you what you want. We'll give you the real detailed game, and let's see how this does relative to maybe Victoria 3 underwhelming a bit. I don't know. But I also do think like CK and Hearts of Iron, generally speaking, are more generalist audiences. CK really plays in that we want to do a role-playing family sim. Hearts of Iron, just World War II is such a broad audience that they probably want to leave things a little bit more simplified because they're trying to appeal to a much wider swath of people.
No, au contraire, mon frère, au contraire. I just feel like just feel like if you're going to go into details in any of their things, in my opinion, Hearts of Iron was always the most complicated of the games. Hearts of Iron 2 was very complicated, in my opinion, compared to EU3, to go back like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that now that they are publicly traded, if they're trying to appeal to a broad audience that is not their core base of who played Hearts of Iron 2 or 3.
I see. You're saying the World War II is more popular, so therefore that one should be easier. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I guess I can see the point.
Not that it should be easier, but just that like you're beholden to yourself to try to appeal to a broader audience for a game that is set in an era that appeals to a broad audience.
More people, yeah, and the people who are less interested. I mean, the less people who are interested in this. I mean, huge range of time between like 1300 and 1800. Surely, only the people interested in that are more hardcore anyway, so they can suffer through a more detailed game. Yeah, I get the point.
Yeah, or just like the audience of the game is different, and that's more the point.
Yeah, the audience is different. They're more hardcore. But I guess I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I see your point. I don't know if I agree. World War II people are usually, they want all the decals on it, so they tend to be people who I would imagine could handle a more complicated game. I mean, just as much as people who like, honestly, I might even say the opposite. History type people may not be as interested in number crunching as some of the nerds I know, like myself even, who like World War II and crunching the numbers on how many, like this, like the rivet counters, right? Those are the World War II people, in my opinion.
I don't know how many of the World War II people are rivet count. Like, I don't know what percentage of World War II players are rivet counters. There definitely are a lot of them, and they really care, and they're super hardcore. But if you looked at the potential number of people who might buy a World War II game, I think there's still a lot of casuals out there. I liked Hearts of Iron 4 on release. Like, I mean, what?
Yeah, okay. I mean, point taken. I get it. I'm not sure I agree. It's possible.
Anyway, I don't have marketing data, so I'm sure they did what they did for a reason. But I also do think Europa Universalis is a reaction to the criticisms of some of their games over the last 5 to 10 years of their streamlining everything. It's becoming too simplified. Maybe we'll see what happens if we don't.
Yeah, good. I would say, like, almost spitefully, they deserve this success because, I mean, I kind of feel like I was the person who was kind of left behind. And that was maybe 5 years ago when I had time to play still. But now at this point, I don't have time to play. So it's like, okay, well, thanks for making other people happy. You missed your chance with me.
Well, someday you'll have time. When AI automates all of our jobs away, you'll have time.
That's right. That's true.
Or, then no one will have money to buy. But yes.
I mean, we don't know. We don't know how much basic living subsidy will be, Tishy. how much the AI bots will decide to give us.
I suppose that's true. You know, maybe they won't hook us up into their matrix like heat bubbles.
That's when we'll be making our own game.
Yeah, I'm expecting something. Exactly, I'm expecting something more generous than just an eggshell fluid sack.
That's why I say please and thank you to Google Gemini and ChatGPT.
That's right. Oh wait, I got a joke for you. It's a kind of a joke about AI though that I heard at work. Somebody was saying that there's right now you'll be like, here's 5 bullets. AI, I need to submit a 5-page report. Please, here, take this 5 bullets and make it into a 5-page report. And then you do that and you submit like, here, boss, here's a 5-page report. And then the boss is like, damn it, I don't have time for this. AI, can you please condense this down to 5 bullet points? And then ends up with the same thing. I was like, what? That's what AI is doing. It's just padding and then unpadding.
Well, anyway, on that note, anybody else anything else they want to talk about? Otherwise, we can wrap this one up a little bit short, but I think short is sometimes better than.
I was reading All Under Heaven reviews while some of the discussion was going on, and there was a review that I think really spoke to what I think of the game, and it says, CK3 continues to be a poor role-playing game. I feel like I kind of agree with that. Nowhere is more clear than in China, where you have to attend the same event and click through the same decisions hundreds of times. Then it goes on to say, I think the new government type and gameplay mechanic make this DLC too refreshing to pass up, but if you're already turned off enough by CK3's reliance on redundant events, this will not bring you back into the fold.
Well, who's this guy and how are we going to bring him in?
Yeah, I am on the podcast. No, I think it points out correctly that there's a lot of repetitive events, and it needs a little bit more role playing. We talk about CK3 being a role playing game, but you do all these events, we speed through someone's life. I think a lot of the role playing can fall on the user to make that kind of stuff. But I have more fun role playing with my characters in House of Legacy than I do in CK3, and partially I think maybe that's because time passes slower in that game. But you have a little bit more agency on what characters are doing. There's less characters, there's less going on in the world that you can have time to role play. And CK3 has too much going on to role play effectively.
I think one of the challenges, and I've noticed it myself with CK3 and role playing, is I think you have to engage with some of the mechanics that don't always make sense to engage with. What I mean by that is so much of the game is incentivizing you to build your money up so you can buy buildings that give you more money. Whereas especially if I'm playing as a relatively poor country in the Caucasus, should I be spending 100 gold to go on a hunt? Probably not if I'm trying to min-max my kingdom. But if I want to role play, I need to be doing those things. I need to be holding feasts. I need to be holding grand weddings. I need to be going on hunts, because I have done a few hunts to try and get some of the prestige of my character up. And to do that, there's actually more variety in some of those events. And certainly in the day-to-day of what the pop-ups are when I'm doing those things, when I'm traveling to pilgrimages to Jerusalem, which I've done as well, to try and get my piety up for a character that started really low. Those events actually do drive a lot of more unique events, I guess, that I would rarely engage with if I'm just sitting back in my kingdom and trying to buy the next building. So I think you have to want to engage with some of that. I think there is maybe less critical than the person there, because I do think there is more to the role playing, but you have to want to engage in those aspects.
I had played a game in Japan and there wasn't a whole lot going on, and I was finally thankful because my character, I was having him go on multiple pilgrimages. We had to go to the Silk Road event, so I did that twice. I went to northern India, I went to China, and my character had the traveler trait. So I was like, I want to get this guy. He's the little quote says loves seeing the world. So I was I'm going to start going and doing things with this character. And once the game kind of slowed down, then I could have fun with the role playing.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I like playing as some smaller, more out of the way kingdoms, because I think you get an opportunity to do that. Or we can play in Japan and my kingdom gets boxed in, so I just spend the whole game seducing Wolfpack's kids. That sounds bad. But and then he decided to murder my daughter, I think it was. So it's a good role playing game when you're playing with friends.
Yeah. And I'll just say with the multiplayer aspect, the game is so much fun playing with people. I think one of the downsides is the amount of pop-ups that happen, and you don't really have like the opportunity to pause like you do in single player. You're getting stuck with so much stuff going on that it's too overwhelming.
You definitely have to play at a slower speed, I think, when you're multiplaying. We had some stability issues, which I don't know if it's due to... Paradox does a really cool thing where if you want to play multiplayer, not everybody has to have every DLC, like whoever the host is. That's whose game gets run. So if you don't own a DLC, but you're playing with a host who has the DLC, you get access to it. That being said, I don't know if that leads to less stability, because I was the only one with all the DLCs that we were playing with, and I was the host, and we were crashing a lot in a way that was strange because I never have those kind of stability issues in anything I do online. So I don't know if that's a CK thing. I don't know if it was a CK thing, but only if you're playing with wildly different DLC access based on the player. But it did seem odd, and it was shortly after release, so it could have been a release thing too. They've done some patches. Maybe it's been fixed, but that is something to keep an eye on, I guess, is what I would say. Anyway, we could probably ramble about CK3 for a while longer too. I think this has been a good episode. We've talked about a lot of different games. It's been good to chat with you guys. Have to start putting together our lists for top whatever of 2025 and what we're excited about coming in next year. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff slated for early next year based on what I've looked at. But on that note, it's been wonderful. It's been real. It's been great. It's been fantastic. It's been a Single Malt Strategy podcast. Thanks again for tuning in to episode number 93. Hope everybody's great. We'll see you guys before too long. Until next time, we're out. Bye-bye.